Hello, everyone, and welcome to Herbie's Cooking Corner for October the 3rd, 2023. And today we are going to have us an interesting.
And you're far away.
I'm far away. So, first of all, this is Herbie's Cooking Corner disaster area time for October 3rd, 2023. My name is, well, you guessed it, Herbie Allen, and well, guys, let me tell you, autumn is in the air, and that is sad. You know what? What better way to spend it than with you guys and making apple bread? And that is what we are going to do today. The idea for apples, well, I'm going to thank my former co-facilitator, Twinkling Tori, for that. As, yes, nowadays, your worst nightmare is come to fruition. I am going to be alone in the kitchen, unsupervised. That is right. With that, what have I got in store for you? Like I said, we're going to do apple bread. And I'm actually going to tell you a secret, guys. I actually chopped up the apples ahead of time, so they're going to be good to go. And I'll talk more about that when we get to that part of the thing, but I will just say that chopping apples is not my favorite thing to do, because I should have gotten an apple corer, and that would actually have made life a lot easier, but that's okay. And this is a pretty straightforward recipe, unlike the one a couple weeks ago where we get to deal with oil and all that. We will just be baking today. And I hope you like these apple recipes because we've got a number of them for the rest of this month. So a couple weeks ago we did apple fritters. Last week we did apple sauce. And now today we are going to do apple bread. So first thing I'm going to do is bring up my recipe. What I can tell you off the top of my head is that we are going to need flour, sugar. It does call for a little bit of cinnamon, which is good because it wouldn't be a good recipe otherwise, in my opinion. The first thing we're going to do is get out the mixing bowl that I'm going to need, and I'm going to try to reduce the clunking here. I should have gotten it out ahead of time, and okay, it looks like we can't do this without being destructo with the way it is set up. Okay, I spared you all some noise there. Let's go back to my recipe now. The mixing bowls were stacked in a way like sandwiched in between a lot of other pots and pans, and that's not fun. So we need 3 cups all-purpose flour, 2 cups sugar. So let's start by getting out the flour. And I have the flour, of course, in a container. If you are a veteran to this call, then you've heard me talk about these containers that I have the flour in. I can always tell, of course, if I don't have them in containers, it's very easy to tell the flour from the sugar because the sugar is going to feel more granulated in the bag, whereas the flour will not. And in some cases, you probably can get sugar in a different type of bag. So over here, that's usually the brown sugar. The downside with a 2-cup measuring cup is it's hard to scoop out of the thing. So I'm just going to pour the flour into here, and I have a feeling that I'm going to need my a new bag of flour. Okay, we're going to put this cup to the side. I'm going to wash it and use it for my 2 cups sugar. No, this one I can just scoop. Okay, you know, the downside to not knowing how much flour you have in your container is I really wasted a set of measuring cups here. I could have just I actually had 3 cups worth in my flour container. So that is unfortunate. And that's going to be the case probably with the sugar. So actually I don't even need to, I'm not even going to try to scoop out the sugar. Since I'm going to pour it, I'm just going to not worry about that. So taking out the sugar container, and we're going to take the lid off. These containers also have a spout, so if you're not as good with pouring, you can definitely use that instead. Whoa, okay. That is almost 2 cups. That is definitely now 2 cups worth. And we will pour that in there. So this is a very sweet, I don't know if it'll be sweet. Well, I mean, it's going to have apples in it. So I'm going to put the lid back on that container. And then the flour container I'll deal with a little bit later on. And we're going to close those cupboards. And now let's see, what do we need next? 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 2 eggs, and then we're going to need vanilla and all apples and chopped nuts if desired. So we're setting the oven here to 300, by the way. I have it at way too much. Okay, so the nice thing about this recipe is we're doing all the ingredients in one one mixing bowl, so we don't need to mix our wet ones separately and all that. It says blend them all to work well. So now we need the ground cinnamon. Okay, so do we put the cinnamon on the ground? Or, not? Oh, it's just talking about cinnamon that's already ground up. That, no, it was not ground up. Okay, it says a tablespoon. We're going to do more than a tablespoon, okay? We're going to taste the cinnamon in this. Because otherwise what's going to happen is a certain wifey is going to raise her hand and say, can you put extra cinnamon? And so we're answering the question before it's asked.
Actually, the recipe, I think you said a teaspoon and then you said tablespoon.
Oh, either way, it's more than a tablespoon and a teaspoon combined. We're going to taste the cinnamon. I thought that would be a good thing. I mean, if you object, but a teaspoon of cinnamon is not that much. Yeah, there's 1 teaspoon. Okay, 2 eggs. All right. So let's talk about eggs because this can really trip people up sometimes. So there's 2 ways we can handle the eggs. If you are not comfortable with cracking eggs, then you might want to get a separate bowl out for this part and crack them into that bowl so that way you can feel around inside for the shells. Now, I've been doing this for years now, so I don't need to, but but you do need to know that is an option. Okay. Now, where did the eggs go? There they are. All right. So, they come, of course, in the typical egg container that, fits them. And I still find it amazing. 21st century, and we have to be careful with egg containers and make sure they don't crack. Okay, I'm banging the egg on the side of the bowl. In a way, I'm disappointed I'm not using my other mixing bowl because it has narrower edges. And I find that easier to crack the egg on, but that's okay. We just have to pound a little bit more. Okay, that's egg number 1. Now egg number 2. I'm splitting the shell in half, taking care to crack it at a part where it's not likely to have much shell going in either way. And I'm washing my hands because there's the chance of a raw egg getting on. I know there's a bit of raw egg on my hands, and I don't want to track that around the kitchen because of, well, not only would that be messy, but salmonella concerns and all that. Okay, so it says to blend all this together when done, so we're going to have some water, and now it's time for the vanilla, and we're going to just put quite a bit of that in as well. There's my vanilla. Vanilla, again, I used this in the apple fritters recipe a couple weeks ago. It comes in the oblong bottle where it's very wide on the bottom, and it just gets narrower as you go towards the top. And we're just going to pour a bunch in, and that'll actually empty out that bottle. Okay, so very good. Kind of got my hands a little bit messy there as I was touching the mixture, so we're going to wash them off again. And I will take questions in just a minute, guys, so I don't know if you're ready to raise your hands or not yet, but just give me one more moment and we'll get to your guys' questions. And we need a 1/4 cup, 1 1/4 cup vegetable oil. And by the way, it technically calls for 2 teaspoons vanilla. So we definitely did that. Now we need the 1 1/4 cups vegetable oil. So let's get out the vegetable oil. You know, I don't do this, but I learned a trick that if you're worried about wanting the oil easier to pour, put it in the fridge so that way it makes it thicker and easier to work with. So nice little tip there. Okay. We're going to, the vegetable oil comes in a typical, different oils come in different bottles. So you can kind of tell this one has a narrow neck and it's then wide on the top where the lid is, and then you tapers down to the neck and then it gets wider on the bottom again. I'm going to open the lid. It's a new bottle. I've not used it yet, so there is a sticker thing on the top. I'm going to peel that away. And now we're going to pour over the bowl. If you're worried about excess, you can always do things like pour over a separate bowl or pour over your sink. Just, if you're going to do the sink method, remember you're going to be carrying that, there goes that cup. Make sure you remember you're going to be carrying the oil from the sink to your bowl, so if you're not good with balance, you could lose some stuff. So you might want to use the refrigerator method instead, and where the oil is thicker, and that way you can just more easily pour it into the bowl. Okay. And we don't want to go overboard with the vegetable oil, but we need that. And then the last thing it calls for is a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So, I gotta go find my salt shaker. I'm gonna feel like Jimmy Buffett right now, searching for my lost shaker of salt. Except I'm not making margaritas. And there's no woman to blame for me losing it. It's my own fault. Okay, that fit too well. Okay, but we did find it.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, somebody is unmuted, and we will take questions in just a minute there, so, so that is that. All right, now that I'm about to stir this, if you have any questions, now is definitely a good time to raise your hand. All right, who have we got? And Cindy, you were able to unmute.
Yes, I had a little bit of trouble a couple seconds ago, but you have 3 hands up, and Abraham is first.
All right.
So, how much apples? I see. I think it's 2 apples, but how much is that? Is that
well, that is 2 apples. I did 2 large Fuji apples myself, so it really depends on how much apples you want.
Okay.
So I chopped up these apples ahead of time last night. I got them peeled, and they kept very well.
Okay, I know you normally don't peel the apples when you make things.
Really?
Do you think it's necessary this time? I think so.
I would have thought so, but what do I know?
Okay.
Something worth trying for sure, because it would certainly make a lot less work. All right, well, thank you, Abraham. And who's next?
Gil, you're up.
All right.
Hello.
Hello,
Well, I had
Jill.
a question about the apples as well, and I know you did it ahead of time, which is good. I would say about I think you do need to peel them because I think it would affect the texture of the bread. But I would peel them. But my question is like, what size about did you cut them? And then did you put like any lemon or anything to keep them from turning color? Or do you not need to do that? Depending on how far
I did
ahead.
this at like 11 at night last night,
Mm-hmm.
my time. So if you're in Eastern time, that would be midnight your time.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not. They were only in the fridge for less than 8 hours. So I didn't do
Okay.
anything to. I wouldn't think they'd need to be preserved like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Apple experts, Nick and Heidi, might have more insight on that. I'm gonna get a wooden spoon for this mixture. But I did not do anything to preserve them, and I cut them into really, really small chunks. So
Yeah,
I
because I would think if they're too large, then they might not, depending
Exactly.
on the cooking time, they might not, they may be still hard in the bread. So,
Yep, you know, so my goal was to get them to a decent size so that way they're edible and all that. So I did my best to cut them real small, and we'll see how well I did after this cooks. So
well, it sounds good. Okay, thank you.
you are welcome. All right. And who's
Diane
next?
has somebody in Clubhouse, or she has a question. Go ahead.
Or she has a
Diane.
question. All right.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a question, but we do have Sarah here in Clubhouse.
All right, Sarah, welcome.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just joined Clubhouse a little while ago and I saw this show, so I decided to join. Sounds really
Excellent.
good. Apple bread, yum. So, do you post these recipes online somewhere later on so we can make the recipes after the show is over?
I am so glad you asked that because yes, I do. I do have a YouTube channel, Herbie's Cooking Corner. It's actually a playlist on my YouTube channel. So, you can look for that on YouTube and it will be a playlist where I've posted a lot of these calls.
Okay.
They're also on ACB Media. You can get them through the if you go to acbmedia.org or download the app for your smartphone, you can access podcasts of this call. And we also have an ACB cooks list. So what you can do actually is send an email to community@acb.org, and you can ask to be subscribed to the ACB cooks list, where I will post this recipe and in text form. And I will post a link to my Dropbox folder, which has most of the other recipes that I have done as well. And if you're interested in more calls like this, you
okay.
can actually... Yep. And if you're interested in more calls like this, you can also be asked to be added to the ACB community list. And you'll get notified of this and many other calls that are happening throughout the community. And just right when you write it to them, include your name and email address, and you can just say, I want to be added to the ACB cooks list or the ACB community call list or both lists, and they will do that for you.
Cool. Thank you.
You are most welcome, and I'm so glad that you chose to come on my call today. Glad to have you and hope to see you around the community more. Awesome. All right. Yes.
You have 3 hands up. And for those of you who have your hand up for a second time, as soon as we get finished with the first timers, I'll come right back to you. I'm
All
not
right,
ignoring
perfect.
you. Okay,
Perfect.
Petra, go for it. Okay. All right, there you
Petra.
go.
Hi there. Sorry about that. I'm confused. Are you using two bowls? One that you put the
Nope.
flour and sugar and everything in, and then you spray the second bowl with the oil?
Nope, it's to do everything in one bowl, so that's what I'm doing.
Then
it's
what
a
bowl? What did you spray the oil in? In
I
the
didn't
mixture?
spray the. Yeah, no, the oil. I put the oil in the mixture itself.
The oil went in the mixture itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we will have
And
a
then
couple
you're
of
going to use
greased
the
loaf pans, but
vegetable oil goes in with the mixture. And also,
Yes.
I see that you didn't use any nuts this time.
I did not.
Okay. And you preheat the oven to 350?
300.
300.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think that answers my questions. Thank you very much. I'm excited to try this recipe.
All right, excellent. Okay, who's next?
Heidi,
Judy.
you are muted, Heidi.
Heidi. Oh, okay, I thought you said
No, Heidi.
Heidi.
Oh, I
All
thought you
right.
said Judy.
Okay, so it's not just me that heard. Okay. Phew.
Okay, so I checked with the other Apple experts, and the only thing that will be affected for not putting lemon on the apples is the color.
Oh, who cares about that?
It
I
will
don't.
pretty much, because it's already going to be baked into the bread anyway. So yeah, the only thing it would affect is the color. It won't affect the taste or anything.
All right. Perfect.
Hey, Dexter, you're up.
Okay,
muted.
still muted.
Nope, you're good.
You're good.
Uh-oh.
Well, what happened to him? Oh, he's there. Come on, Dexter.
He was unmuted and then he muted.
Okay, am I unmuted again?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. This is more a comment. If you're using olive oil instead of polyunsaturated vegetable oil, if you put it in the fridge, it's going to solidify, and the only thing that will pour off is impurities in the olive oil.
All right, good to know. So do not refrigerate your olive oil. And so good to know. All right.
Hey, Laura. You are muted.
Hi, Herbie. I'm enjoying the show as usual. I wondered if applesauce could be used instead of the vegetable oil.
I guess so. I'll give it a try and see what happens.
Thank you.
If anybody has a more definite answer on that one, definitely let us know. But I would definitely say
I
give
think
it a
the
try.
bread sounds delicious.
All right. So this is a very stiff mixture, by the way, guys. And kind of stiff and a little bit crumbly in parts. So it's going to turn out to be interesting. Okay. So I'm just kind of kneading it a little bit too, as well as mixing it. So, who's next?
Hey, we're back to Abraham.
Back to Abraham. All right.
I was wondering, could you grate the apples for this? I think that would be probably faster than peeling, chopping, and all that.
You would have to contend with the juice.
Yeah.
So I guess if you have some, I mean, if you don't mind, that'll be grated apples. But I would do it over a sieve or something, so that way it'll drain out the juice. Because I don't think you really want the apple juice getting into the mixture.
And I can't remember if you added the baking soda.
No, I did not.
Okay.
I knew I was forgetting something.
Okay.
But that's okay. We can add that in now. And that'll help it bake. So let's see. The one thing I definitely did not add and I don't have for this is nuts, but really? Foam? Okay. Let's actually clean off the foam here first.
And the salt, I think.
So 1 teaspoon baking soda is what we need. And we're going to bake for 1 hour. So that's going to prove to be interesting in a way because should have tried to, I guess we'll just see how it turns out for the call here. Okay, so I got my baking soda out. And now I'm going to get out my teaspoon. And I just see my smaller teaspoon. Okay, I see my tablespoon. I want an actual teaspoon. Well, then we'll just use a half teaspoon and make 1 teaspoon out of it. Very good. Okay, now that's gonna get mixed in to this. And then, okay, so it looks like we're, hold on guys, if you have questions, I'll get to you all in a second. So just keep your hands
There are no questions,
up,
Herbie.
up. There are no questions. Okay,
No,
well,
sir.
I'm in the kitchen. And by the way, guys, I've been neglectful. I forgot to acknowledge our, I'll acknowledge my
Now
staff
you
in a
have
couple
one.
minutes here. All right, well, just hold your horses, and I will get to you. All right. Good, good, good. So, now that we've done that, let's talk about our loaf pans. So, I should have, excuse me, a couple here. Where are my loaf pans? There are my loaf pans. So these are tiny little... Actually, we're going to get out my bigger loaf pans, because the mixture is definitely going to do better. These are look like mini 13 by 9s, but they're taller and rectangular. So I'm going to use some cooking spray to grease them. We're definitely going to grease the bottom and the sides here. And so I didn't get around to acknowledging my staff, by the way, guys. So we have Cindy taking care of us in Zoom, and we have Tyann, who is a second-time streamer and has had several connecting experiences already. But she is now the one streaming us and making us sound good over on your A-Ladies and whatever ways you're listening to us on media. So that is totally awesome. You know, you have an awesome instructor too. You should think, oh, wait a minute, that's me. Oh dear. Okay. So, I think what we're going to do for this, so I'm just guessing this is the best way, is I'm going to scoop a bunch of this out into one of the pans. And then just kind of, it's a little bit crumbly. So I'm just going to divide this evenly among the pans first of all. And, okay. Watch, I really don't need you advertising to the world how long I've been standing and doing all that. But whatever. And I'm just kind of pressing it down a little bit, so I'm guessing that'll be okay. So I'm just guessing on how to divide it. Excuse me, there's no exact science to this that I have. Now we're going to pour mixture number 2 into this pan. And we're going to see how some apple bread turns out. Okay, now I can tell by the mixture that I could take some out of the first pan and put it into this pan, and that'll help even it out. I'm just doing it by feel. And, yeah. Okay. So results are going to prove to be interesting, for sure. All right, so I've been sampling the mixture, of course. It's very sweet-ish. Now we're going to see how it all blends together. So we're going to put this in the oven. I've got my oven open. I face the oven head on. I don't mind the heat. Keep in mind it's going to be a little bit cooler because it's 300, not 350. Hey Google, set timer for 1 hour. Oh goodness. And there we go. Now that's in the oven. And as I'm dying over here, I will take some more questions. So who have we got?
Okay, Abraham, you're up. Okay, Abraham, I know you can do it. He might have walked away.
He might have.
Sorry. I was just on a call. So I think you might have forgotten the salt, maybe, as well.
No, I put it in. I did put it
Okay,
in.
good. And then, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna be able to finish the call, on the call, the recipe on the call. But I was wondering,
No.
could you cover it with cinnamon sugar?
Well,
Before
there's
you
already
bake it.
cinnamon and sugar in it. So
You
I
can
guess,
never have
I
too
guess
much
you could add
cinnamon.
more. Because
And
there's,
then,
it already has,
Yeah,
it
you
does
put a
call for
tablespoon.
2 cups of sugar.
Yeah. And
And
then
I just mix it all in there. So I think the cinnamon and sugar would be a bit much myself, adding it on top.
okay.
But I suppose if you put a minimal amount in there to begin with, then you could do it that way.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Okay.
Have we got
you do
anybody
not-
else?
Oops. No, sir, you do not.
You seemed unsure there. So wanted to make sure.
Good question.
So as Ibrahim said, what? Oh. I thought you
There
were
are no
saying something.
questions on either end.
On either end. All right.
No, no.
That is definitely a good thing. So it'll be interesting. Like I said, this is my first time making this. But next week we are going to have Anthony with us, and I believe he's going to be showing us his bourbon balls. And I think he was going to make something else, so I'll double check with him on that. Also, we're going to have something interesting later on. Mini German apple pancakes. So, we've got that. I'll go over the schedule in just a little bit. Want to remind you all that you can join us on the community, though. Just send an email, like I said earlier, to community@acb.org. And there you will find that you can be added to the community call list, where you can learn about mine and other fabulous calls that are happening today, such as the Neighborhood Coffee Klatch next hour. How about Unmute Presents? That's going to be happening today at 1 Eastern. Abacus Made Simple. at 2. Helpful hints on using homophones at 3, and they are going to have a homophone bee. Yes, indeed. So, make sure you join Mary for that, and you will have a merry time. And yes, I did use a homophone. How about the ins and outs of sight loss for anybody that would be interested in that call? Or I Love Braille, and where you can be either a mentor or a mentee and help people with Braille. We've got French a little bit later on, le français. And and that's just an example of what we have happening today. Of course, we have plenty of other calls happening throughout the week. For instance, tomorrow I do have my accessible online games call where we're going to be playing Uno on Quincy's Game Room. So I hope you will all join me for that. And also, it's a Wednesday Wake Up tomorrow. We've got Cozy Fireside Chat where we're reading about cozy mysteries. I think It's Electric is tomorrow. Yes, indeed it is. Talking about those electrical appliances for your kitchen. So yes, some other food-related calls. And next week it'll be Recipe Swap. So we've got that happening. And so as you can tell, we have a wide variety of calls here in the community. So you do not want to miss anything. So I tell you what, I'm going to go switch devices, and then we're going to talk about apple chopping, because you didn't get that live this time, but we'll talk a little bit more about how that went, as I really don't have anything else to do in the kitchen. So
You have two hands up.
I have 2 hands up. All right,
Yes, sir.
give me just a second, and we will get to
No
them.
prob.
Actually, so let's see. Let me do this first. All right. So you're gonna hear me double for just a second here. And we're gonna fix that. Thank you, phone. Okay, who do we have first?
Jill.
Hello. I just had a comment that I'm gonna try, since it says there's 2 cups of sugar. I was gonna try making it just with 1, and I'll let you know how it comes out, because I just wanted to, make it like a lower sugar index or whatever, however
Definitely.
you call that. So I'll let you know if that works. And then the other thing is, I think you said 300. Did I hear you correct? 300 degrees for the oven?
You did, yes.
Okay, for 1 hour. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, you are welcome.
Hey,
All right.
Cheyenne, Clubhouse.
We have Sarah on the stage.
Welcome back, Sarah.
Hello, I was gonna suggest that if you do put cinnamon and sugar on top, I'd make it like in equal parts, like cinnamon and sugar, like put in a quarter cup, like a teaspoon of each, and then sprinkle it on top of the if you're gonna do that, on top of the bread when it comes out. And for the color before, you can use a substitute for sugar like stevia. So you can still use 2 cups, but use 1 cup sugar and 1 cup stevia, or whatever sweetener you choose. I've done that before. I'm also a diabetic, so I've done that before in my kitchen a while ago.
That is definitely a good point, and definitely worth noting. Okay, thank you there, Sarah. Anybody else?
No, sir. Not yet.
All
Well,
right.
there will be, because You know how that goes.
Yes, but that's okay. So I did actually get an offline question, and I don't know if they are listening or not. But the question I got was, would this apple bread do well with raisins? And that's an interesting question. I don't know. I don't know that it wouldn't. I'm not a big raisin fan myself. I like Raisin My Cane, but and I like chocolate raisins. Chocolate raisins. Hey, that sounds good. All right. So
Now you have a hand.
All right.
Okay, Abraham.
I decided to raise in my hand there.
Oh, get him muted. Get him muted.
So, if you're going to do raisins, I'd probably plump them up first in a bit of orange juice or water or something before you add them. And then I wanted to ask if you could make possibly smaller versions of this in like muffin trays.
I
And
don't
then
see why you couldn't.
and I prefer the mixture of brown sugar with apples, but I'm not sure if that would maybe add too much like moisture because I know brown sugar also adds moisture to a dough.
Where's Tori when I need her? But Tori, come back. I guess you could. I mean, if nothing else, you can always give these ideas a try.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
or maybe don't put so much brown sugar with the white. I'll mix both probably, but I think I'll definitely give this a try. It sounds so good.
Yep. All right. So there's a reason why I liked my co-facilitator because she knew the answers to all these questions. I don't bake. Okay, so very good question there, Abraham. And I think you're going to be our guinea pig. So why don't you try the brown sugar method and let us know how it turns out next week. All right. Do we have
2 hands?
We have 2 hands. All right.
See, I can read your mind, Herbie.
Wow, I'm a little worried about that. What's my bank account number?
Well, I don't want to tell everybody.
Oh, okay. I'm glad.
But I'll tell you. Okay.
Okay.
Elizabeth, you're up. You are muted, Elizabeth.
Make sure you've hit that got it
I'm
button.
sorry.
There you go.
Oh, me? Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear that. I heard it was a little muffled. And I've got this new wonderful keyboard that I really am happy about, so I'm thrilled. Okay, I am a baker, and this is a very forgiving recipe. So if you're not a baker, this is a great one to start with. There's a bunch of things you can do. Yes, you can add raisins. Yes, you could totally use brown sugar. In fact, you could totally use brown sugar instead of the white sugar, and the quantity of sugar here, which is 2 cups, which is a lot of sugar, folks. That quantity, if you put in raisins, you will need less sugar, substantially less sugar, and the raisins will give it a nice texture. So you could put in like a 1/2 cup of raisins, say. And it says 2 apples here. Now, 2 apples can be big apples, little apples, whatever apples. Usually in these bread recipes, it's a good idea to use the same amount of fruit as the flour and to chop them up pretty fine. So that may help. I personally would reduce the sugar a lot, and it would not be a problem at all. If you're going to use white, this is probably written for white flour. If you're going to use whole wheat flour, you may want to sift it through a strainer because it'll make it a little light, or you may just want to take a fork and sort of stir it around and get some air into it. And you may find that it's drier. Your product is a bit drier than the white flour one. In fact, depending on which apples you use, you may want to adjust the flour to fruit proportions and sugar proportions, and you can do all that. There's almost nothing that will go wrong with this recipe. So you can sort of move things around a little bit. Sometimes you'll get wetter apples, like apples with a lot more moisture in them. And so you may need less, less or sweeter or more tart apples. And so your sugar and your flour will change a little bit. It absolutely won't matter. It's very forgiving. So that's cool. And you can also change the spices. You could add a little ginger, you could add a little nutmeg, you could add more cinnamon. I always add more cinnamon. You could make cinnamon and sugar streusel and put it on the top of the thing. I mean, there's a lot. You could bake it in a flat pan and put the streusel stuff on it. It's a really cool recipe. So anyhow, that's my bit.
All right, very good. Thank you, Liz. And who else do we have?
Hey, Janet, you're up.
All right.
Hello, Cindy, Lou, and Herbie, Alan. Anyways,
that was
do
a
you-
very
could
anticlimactic.
could you do this recipe in a bread machine?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess you probably could. I'm thinking because it's not a true bread; it's more of a baked. It's gonna be more like a cake, I think. So I'm gonna say probably not. But if anybody has any thoughts on that, I definitely let me know. But I'm thinking no. But so that's my best guess on that one. All right. Anybody else?
Sir, Petra,
Petra.
you're up.
Hi there. I would say not in a bread machine. I'm not an expert either, but bread machines are set to let the bread rise and then they punch it again and rise and so forth. I think that would be totally wrong for this one because it doesn't even have yeast in it.
Yeah.
My question was about water. Herbie, did you add any water? I missed that, and if so, how much?
Nope, I didn't. It did not call for any water, and so I did not add any.
Okay. I got it.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you
question.
much. And I'm loving this recipe too. I can't wait to try it.
All right. I can't wait to hear your results.
Okay.
All right. So, anybody else?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right.
sir. Abraham.
I
We've
was
got
gonna
his
say
attention.
I don't think it would work well in a bread machine because most bread machines I don't think will allow for add-in. So I don't know when you're gonna put in the apples and things like that.
I already. The apples are part of the mixture, so they're baked
Yeah.
into it. All right.
Yeah.
So 3 people are telling you no on the bread machine there, Janet. So there you go. That sounds good. All right. Anybody else?
Not yet.
Not
Who
yet.
knows it happens.
All right. Well, you're all chatty today. Okay. Like, either you're happy that I no longer have a co-facilitator, or you feel the need to keep me in line, or something. I don't know. Hey, but we've had no smoke alarm going off today, so that's a good thing so far, anyway.
Now you have a hand.
All right.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, I have got a bread machine. Mine has a quick bread setting, which means I have a quick bread setting. You can use it like a mixer and then it bakes the bread. I have frankly never made anything in it, but if you have a quick bread setting on your machine, then in fact you could use it as a mixer, mix everything up all together. And this would be a very good recipe to do because it's not one of those things where you have to beat things separately and add things separately. You basically chuck all this together. And you go. And as far as the water thing, we're back to the sugar and flour and apples bit. And if you have very watery apples, apples with a lot of moisture, you're going to notice your texture is different, but none of them are going to need water because the apples add so much moisture. Again, I would use about the same amount of apples as flour personally, and we're in apple country, so I've made a lot of apple bread in life. You can also take this stuff and put it in muffin tins, so you could make muffins. It's really good this way. Like I say, you can put it in a flat pan and bake it that way and put streusel topping on top of it and turn it into basically a coffee cake. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it. I just don't know lots about the quick bread setting on, if you got a quick bread setting on your bread machine, you can do it.
All right, so there you go. So check your bread machine for that quick bread setting. That would have been nice to have a machine to do all the work for me today, but that's how it goes. All right, anybody else?
No, sir.
All right, guys, so we've got about 34 minutes left. I don't know if we're going to use the entire half hour here, but let's briefly talk about chopping apples. So the tricky thing with apples, of course, is you do have the core. Now, if you have an apple corer, the one I had definitely did not do well with the larger apples. It did fine with the smaller apples, but you could kind of strip the core out by pressing it down and getting rid of the core that way. And you'd be in good shape there. So that is, and then you can just have the apple in slices. The next thing is getting off the peel. And, these apple things I'm dealing, maybe I need to perhaps invest in a peeler. Because that would certainly have made life a little bit interesting. So I just kind of did my best to cut around the peel and, get the peel parts off so then I could just cut the rest of the apple into very, small chunks. So that's essentially what I did with the apple. And I did my best. Since I didn't have a core, I just did my best to cut away, from the core. And you can kind of tell if there's core bits in there because, it feels a little bit rough. And so I would just cut around that if I noticed anything like that. And I would just kind of cut around like the edge of the peel and just try to get it off that way. So that's what I did on that. Okay. Any questions on that before we move on?
I'm doing pretty good. I think that's a question.
All right. Very good.
What?
And Jonathan, I'm seeing your... Yes, there are different kind of apples you can use for the apple bread. I use the Fuji apples because that's what I get. But you can use any kind that you want. And, okay, let's see here. Now, let me bring up my schedule here, because we're real professional here in the cooking call. Let's see. So, today we're doing the apple bread. Next week is Cooking with Anthony. And then Heidi is going to come back on the 17th to talk to us about apple oatmeal raisin cookies. And I do have the recipe for that. Apple pies on the 24th. And then mini German apple pancakes is on the 31st. And Cindy's getting all excited over there. So I know
I'm sorry.
I expect it. No, that's okay. I expect to see you on these calls now. Otherwise, or else.
That is top of the hour, sir.
All right. She's avoiding it, the or else, by telling me what doing her hosting duties. Okay.
I will be here for the apple pancakes for sure.
All right. So that's what we got for you on the 31st. Then the 7th of November. Oh yes, more apples. Apple Patty's apple cake. And 14th, garlic bread and beef stroganoff. Yes, indeed, we are going to make Courtney's beef stroganoff right here on Herbie's Cooking Corner because I can. And I need to get back into the kitchen and do stuff like that on this call. And the 21st I have open, but Kayla's going to make us a zucchini tart on the 28th. I might reserve the 21st to I don't know. What if I do Thanksgiving dinner on the cooking call? What do you all think of that? I'll take opinions on that, starting from within the household and spiraling outwards. So, instead of having a Thanksgiving dinner on the traditional Thanksgiving, we have it on a Tuesday, which is the Canadian Thanksgiving, actually. And I think, computer, when is Canada's Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving Day in Canada is on Monday, October 9th, 2023.
Oh, well, okay, fine, I'm a day off. But still, so happy early Thanksgiving to our Canadian friends, by the way. So, yeah. Let's see, December. We're going to switch to ginger in December. Heidi's gingerbread mix, plus her cookies. Actually, it says gingerbread spice mix, plus her cookies, and gingerbread cheesecake. And do we have anything else scheduled in December? No, we do not. But Heidi is going to give us her zucchini bread in January. So, needless to say, we're going to find some things. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to find some things to cook, not bake. Why? One, will actually be able to answer all your questions then. So, that's one reason. I know nothing about what you can substitute with baking and what you cannot. So we're going to find some interesting things to cook for you all in December. So have no fears there. But I do take requests. My preference, of course, right now for cooking over baking. But I do take requests. Or if you would like to be a guest facilitator right here on Herbie's Community Cooking Corner, well, that is perfectly fine. All you need to do is get a hold of me. You can do one of several ways. If you have my contact information, then just do it that way. Otherwise, you can email community@acb.org, or you can email acbcooks@gmail.com. And either way, that will get to me. Remember, just have them send it to me as, I'm now the only one running this thing, and I will get you scheduled in, or if it's a request, if we'll see how that goes. And you'll have more guarantee, by the way, of course, if you're going to be a guest facilitator, and the cooking request, they will be viewed as recommendations, and I'll see if it's something that I am able to do or not, and we'll just go from there. So when it comes to the cooking requests, so
You have a hand, Herbie.
we have a hand. All right.
Yes, sir. Okay, Heidi, you're up.
Hello.
Hello.
In December, it was going to be, I was doing the gingerbread spice mix for the cheesecake, and I believe you were doing the gingerbread cookies.
Okay. Then glad we got that settled. So all right. Okay, so I guess I know what I'm doing now in December. I'm doing another baking thing. Oh, joy of all joys. All right. Well, at least so far my gingerbread cookies haven't ran away from me and said you can't catch me in the gingerbread man. So that's good.
Wee wee wee.
Yeah. I wonder, poor Fox though, when he ate that gingerbread, I mean, it must have not been, I guess he was a full-size gingerbread man, so maybe it was tasty, but, I don't know. Anyway, alright. So glad we got that cleared up for December. So Heidi will be making gingerbread mix, and I will be making gingerbread cookies. So, that is exciting there. Alright,
Have another one.
I have another one. All right.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, hi there. I don't know if this came up because I wasn't here for the whole thing. But if you want to use non-wheat flour like nut flour, you can do that, or a gluten-free flour, you can do that. You can use whole wheat flour. If you want to use whole wheat flour, you may want to buy whole wheat pastry flour. It's a little finer grind and it produces better, fluffier baked goods because the other tends to get a little heavy sometimes. A good brand is Bob's Red Mill if you're in the United States. It's just a nice flour. So that is an option. And are you making gingerbread mix like to make gingerbread out of or something else? I wasn't clear about that. So I'll now mute and you can answer. Oops.
So Heidi's going to make a gingerbread spice mix for her gingerbread cheesecake, and I'm going to be making actual gingerbread cookies.
Oh, you're
So-
making a gingerbread cheesecake.
Yep, Heidi, do you want to tell them any more about that?
Yes. So the gingerbread spice mix is going to be basically just enough for the cheesecake itself. What me and Nick will probably do ahead of time is we will make the crust because you just crush up the gingerbread men and you make the crust in the pie shell.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're not actually making, you're using it to make the crust.
No, the spice mix will actually go in and on top of the
Oh, all right.
cheesecake itself.
Oh, I'll be there for this event. That's cool. Yeah. That's good. By the way, if you ever want to grind up anything and you don't want to use a full-scale food processor, you can always buy yourself a second coffee grinder or your first coffee grinder, and they work for grinding small amounts of things. Like you can grind almonds to make almond flour or walnuts to add ground up walnuts to your flour, and you'll have less wheat flour or whatever. Coffee grinders are really useful to have. So for grinding.
All right, very good. Okay, thank you for that question there, Elizabeth. And do we have anybody else?
Not yet. We
All
will.
right, we will. All right. So so far we've been good. You know, we've not had the law laid down on us today, so that's a good sign.
They already left for school.
Yay! I mean, oh, wow, that's too bad, isn't it? Okay. No, we love all our listeners, even the ones that are law abiding and lay down the law. So, yeah, we do actually. So, all right, guys.
You have a hand.
We have a hand. All right.
Yes, sir. Okay. Petra.
Herbie, how did you mix your ingredients together? Did you just stir them together? You didn't use a okay, just with a wooden spoon?
Yes, because it became a very stiff mixture. So I kind of did a combination of stirring and kneading it together.
Okay.
That's what I did. I wonder if a mixer would have been a little bit. You know, I don't think anything would have been wrong with using a mixer for this recipe. And if I'd have known how stiff it was going to turn out, I would have tried that. But
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll be able to hopefully next week we'll be able to compare notes and all that. So, by the way, because next week will be interesting, because I actually will not be here, so Anthony's going to be unsupervised. I think I have a co-facilitator in mind, but if anybody is interested in being a facilitator next week to help introduce Anthony and all that, definitely let me know off list, and I will take all requests into consideration. Same contact methods. And yeah, because I had something else that I was asked to help out with next week. So that is that. We're also going to try a new feature. I didn't get around to getting it done today, but I'm going to try a new feature for future calls where, since Chanel reads the schedule now for the phone, it occurred to me that she actually reads the ingredients list for my calls as part of that, so I can just take out the excerpt. And she will now read the ingredients list to us to start off future calls. I meant to get that on the going for today, and then I completely got sidetracked and forgot about it. So we're gonna do that. Try that for a future call. So that'll be exciting. I'm losing my voice here, guys. Don't celebrate just yet, though. 'Cause yeah. Okay, do we have anybody else?
No, sir.
Nope. All right. Well, I think we're going to end this thing a little bit early here, barring any more questions, because it's baking right now, so not much we can really do. But I want to thank everybody who came today. I'm glad to have our new person over in Clubhouse, Sarah, joining us, and thank you to everybody else, whether you asked questions or just listened. I think we only actually had one person who's currently on here that did not have a question today, so that's wow, everybody was engaged. I like that. My thanks to Cindy and Tyann. Great job as always. I guess if we put those two together, though, we get a CT scan, and that might give them ideas, though, for my brain. Oh boy. Second thought. Maybe we better not encourage a CT scan. So thank you guys. And remember, you can subscribe to the community call list and the ACB Cooks list by sending an email to community@acb.org. Include your name and email address and ask to be added to the list. I will get this call uploaded later today, and it will include a final thought on the apple bread and how it turned out. So I will get that done later today. And I'm going to get last week's call uploaded in a little bit here to YouTube, as well as start to get some previous ones as well. And it's definitely starting to smell good. That I will definitely tell you. It's definitely is there. And my final thoughts on this recipe is it was a success, a little bit burnt, but overall, definitely very flavorful. The apples weren't really crisp like they were in the apple fritters, but still very tasty, and I would say that this recipe was a success. Hey, if you give this one a try, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you.